YouTube, it's Brad Phillips. Look at this. We've got something new and exciting. Wait, it's not new, but it is new now because we put a 3-bladed prop on there. Tried a couple different sizes. We ended at 15.7 or 15 by 7. And then softer tires. They're called soft tires, but I wouldn't necessarily make any bets. We're going to see how they work, and we'll show you exactly the problems we ran into putting them on or not. You just have to wait and see, because that's what we do on Brad Phillips RC. We show it from start to finish. So far, so good. Everything feels fine. That 3-bladed prop actually gains us, meaning we draw a full, look, 71.4 amps before to 66.8 amps after, okay? So here we go, thrust reverse. We're just gonna get into position a little bit. Oh yeah, a little thrust reverse action, never hurt anybody. Unless you crash because of it, I've done it. Oh yes! Wow. 50% throttle. Oh, that is so gorgeous, folks. I love flying this plane, it is so good. I flew it on Saturday a little bit. We had cray wind all day. That's 50% throttle. Let's go full throttle. Master air screw, 15.7, folks. Oh yes. Look at that thing. Oh, it's so gorgeous. I love the sound it makes. We used an easy out to drill the hole because you need a 10mm opening for your prop. Take off landing. Look at that thing. Tight spaces. It does, in fact. Out of the throttle, about 15, 20% throttle, 30, 50, 60. And then out, about 10. Let's go to the bowl, camera crew. So folks, as you may know, flying in tight spots is really where you demand your power. Camera crew, about 10 steps back, please. Perfect, right there. You know, I don't like that angle because if something failed, I would have crashed into us. Take off flaps. When you guys fly in tight environments, that's where you really need power. And guess what? This thing is delivering. Folks, look how nice this is. Even so slow. Look how slow we're going, and it just maintains control the whole time. Look, I'm hands off, guys. I'm just watching it. I'm not in safe. That's just AS3X, and look at it. It's like so realistic. Out of flaps, full throttle, boom. Full landing flaps on the way back down. Absolutely gorgeous. That 3-bladed prop is so sweet, folks. Oh, yes. And let's not forget, I'm going through my own wake turbulence, folks. That is so cool that this plane is big enough to even have an appreciable wake turbulence. Out of the flaps. And I'm feeling it. Guys, it looks so fabulous. Still full throttle. Okay, let's try some landing gear. Remember, we got some soft tires. I put it in air quotes mentally. Let's see how it does. Ooh, forgot I have that flag up. Well, it is better. Hardly, but it's better. Camera crew, trade sides. Thanks, perfect right there. Let's go forward toward the runway there. I'm gonna actually take a longer approach just to simulate what it would be like in a normal flying field. So our visitor that came was flying in the wind and he was like, wow, it's really hard to land here. And I was like, oh, wow. So it's not just me. He's got 20 years experience. Well, he did it. Oh, yes. Oh, I so badly wanted to touch, but I didn't. Camera crew, you good? Mm-hmm. His name will be replaced with Milton Bradley.
He had more than 20 years experience, doesn't he?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's in and out of the hobby. I
must say that was pretty juicy right there. Now, admittedly, folks, that 3-bladed prop looks really good, and I love it. But the thing is, we went up to a 16.8, and we went to almost 78 amps, and the FET went up to like 140, and that was like at 90% throttle. So I said, yeah, I don't want to risk it. We're gonna fly some more right now for you. Here it is. Guys, what other plane can you do that with? Oh, it's so fantastic. That was fantastic, except I rearranged the letters. I actually love the sound.
Yeah.
I feel like the sound is a little bit more impressive than on the 14.7510 that's stock. Takeoff flaps, 50, 30, 25. Full landing flaps, slow it down. Bring it in for a tight turn. And then down the runway, dirty. Watch the cat. Ooh, I totally knocked it. Oh, dang it. That is what happens when you have a UPS driver that won't stay off your lawn. You end up hitting it with your plane. I'm sure you guys saw what happened there. Oh man, I hope I didn't totally foobar that wing. I probably did. So I gotta say, the stock prop probably gives you and delivers just a little bit more top speed. There is nothing more frustrating than having a cat that could scare the crap out of you on the runway. But that's what's going on, folks. We have a cat. Okay. Vector, requesting clearance for a touch and go. Oh, yes. Do you see the cat jumping like a moron?
There, you
that
can't
was
see her now.
hilarious. Ooh, that was way better. That was way better, guys.
So maybe?
So maybe these are actually softer, folks. We thought they were just totally making it up. In fact, I called and I said,
Are you making it up?
I said, guys, did you like mispackage this thing? Because they feel exactly the same. But I can tell you that that was a lot softer. Okay. Okay, we're just gonna try for a beautiful landing here. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful landing. A little bit of throttle, a little bit of throttle. Man, that is impressive when you put that full thrust reverse is crazy. Okay, we're gonna actually take off the other way just because we can. And I actually gotta say, I love having the thrust reverse. I love having the 3-bladed prop. I'm okay with giving up a couple extra amps because check this out. I bet we have even more flight time going. Look at that. Look at that, out of the throttle. We got 33% left and we're at 8 minutes of flight time. Okay, so we're gonna keep flying in true Brian Phillips colors. We're gonna take off when others would be landing. Out of the flaps. I am super annoyed that I plowed that signage, which I have a totally hilarious joke that I could tell, but I can't tell it on YouTube. Oh, dang it. You know the joke, right? The joke
well,
about
I guess you're
the
gonna
thing.
tell me later.
You know the thing that I ran into and my problem getting it when I went to the store? Yes. Well,
Okay, you'll have to tell me later.
I'll have to tell you later. Now everybody's wondering.
I know.
Here we go. Inside. So beautiful, folks. Up and over the house. Nice slow roll. Nice clean roll. We're gonna jank it up, do a stall turn to the left, and then final from there. Okay. Full landing flaps and gear. 10% throttle helps slow it down. You good? Mm-hmm. Okay, coming in by eagle, killing zone. Bring that nose down. Get it here, get it here, get it here. Look at that, that was amazing. That thing would have bounced 10 feet tall stock.
Yeah.
Maybe these soft tires actually do work. I'm serious, like I didn't think they were working.
No.
Oh, by the way, we haven't talked a lot about the grass ops on this plane, and to be honest, it's probably a little bit colder than it was. I'm gonna go to Take off flaps. Well, let's just see. Oh man, I know, it just makes me nervous.
soul.
I really, really don't want to lose my landing gear. For you guys, because I love you. I would only do it for you, YouTube. I wouldn't do it for me. Oh, that is so fantastic. You see the cat chasing it?
Yeah, she's back.
Full landing flaps. Here we go, right at the cat. Callie likes to chase planes, okay? There's somebody watching it over there.
Where?
Over where I just turned.
Oh.
This will be a pretty speedy pass.
Okay.
You good?
Mm-hmm.
And up. I'd be lying if I didn't think that that three-bladed prop might have taken a little bit off the top speed. I think it did. But you know what? I'm okay with it still. It sounds good. It looks good. It's got plenty of power. And I think it's got a little bit more pulling power. So I gotta say, soft tires actually worked. Guys, we totally thought it was made up. Like, oh yeah, $4 more for these soft tires. Okay, we must have them. But I got them and they felt rock hard in the package. And so we're gonna show that next up. But honestly, I would say they actually did work. So I am super happy about that. Oh my goodness, what? The pilot's taking off, what? Yes, this is Brian Phillips RC, yes. Oh, critically low. That's a dangerous spot to get critically low. Okay, full landing flaps gear. You're just gonna slip it, let those gear come out. Yeah, buddy. Man, I bounced that one in so terribly, but honestly, it's kind of good because we get to show that thing working. It's soft tires. So let's actually try our soft tires. Let's see if we can take our soft tires on our critically low pack and see if we can take back off. Ooh, get off of there! Yes, you did it! Ah! Oh, dang it! There it is, guys. Okay, so without further ado, critically low, we're at 4 minutes 4.
What are we doing?
Plus 8. What?
What are we doing?
The pilot's gonna see if he can take off again. Full throttle. Oh yeah, she's critical. Out of the gear, out of flaps. Efficiency. You guys asked for it. Now you'll get it.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, nobody
just
asked
you.
for it. It was just me. Okay, full landing flaps gear. And I had a pilot the other day telling me I need to clean up my act on vernacular for flaps. And to be honest with you guys, that was not a very good touchdown. And I got perfect non-bounce landing. So I gotta say, totally soft tires. I can't believe I'm saying this actually did work. I totally didn't think they would. And yes, that prop is amazing. In terms of flight times, that was a minute more. And let's see where we are on our voltages here. As you can see, we're at 20.3. Well, excuse me, 21 right now. But the minimum, there's your minimum, there's your max, okay? So I would say, and then the current, looks like the current we got to 88.2. So we did only static testing inside, so we compared static to static. And what we did is we took the stock and then we compared it to the other choices. We didn't compare all 4, but we have 4 other sizes. I would say this is a pretty dang good size.
Yeah.
I don't see anything crazy. 141 for the FET temp is the max, 78.8 is the lowest. And here, I'll just show you guys so you don't have to trust me. And as you can see, we're definitely golden on that. And I truly do believe the 3-bladed prop really makes this thing show even better than it already shows. And it's just got that majesty because it's so big. And we're dying for spring to really be here. Right now, we're still getting kind of a cold evening. We're kind of rushed, but thank God for daylight savings. Thank God for the spring solstice. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
It's actually not the solstice. The solstice is the longest day. What's the thing in the middle?
Well, I mean, the first day of spring was here just...
The equinox.
Yeah.
It's the halfway.
Equal
point.
A week ago.
So when you're in the northern hemisphere, thank God for the equinox. The spring is so nice. We finally get that hour of nonsense back and we just can start flying in the evenings again. It's so nice. and beautiful low wind day. We haven't had many to choose from lately, so we've been struggling to get the footage done that we need to get done, and so we appreciate you guys being patient. Of course, you guys don't usually see that because we try to have a little bit out so that we can publish on time. This thing is awesome. I love the Carbon Z T-28. I sometimes affectionately call it the Carbon Z Cub because I screw up and say it wrong all the time, so please forgive me in advance. But I love that plane. It's one of my favorite flying planes. It's one of my favorite looking planes. And it's so ridiculous. When I was a new pilot, I thought it was the stupidest plane ever.
Yep. Oh, there's super
which is crazy. And same thing, I was just flying the pits the other day.
Yep.
And I thought, I don't even really care. One of the best flying planes we have. And I just love it. And it's so weird as you get deeper and deeper into this hobby. You'll find an appreciation for things that you didn't realize you had an appreciation for. And so that's why I can't employ you enough. If you see a plane that you might like, check it out on Brian Phillips RC. If it's junk, I'll have a hard time faking it, and you'll know. If it's awesome, it'll be like really, really gushy, like when I do these.
Yeah.
So, and honestly, I don't think we've done a T-28 that I wasn't gushy on because they're all really good.
Yeah.
And we've done like pretty much every size.
Yep.
So from 400 millimeters all the way up to multipliers of 400 millimeters, with this being 2 meters. And, you know, if we can do a bigger one later, we'll do that too. But in the meantime, if you guys want to buy this plane, you will absolutely love it. If you're even remotely interested, if you liked your Carbon Z Cub, if you liked your Carbon Z T-28, you will like this.
Or your Carbon Z Cessna 150T.
That thing, Carbon Z Cessna 150T.
Yep,
Is that what I meant to say?
Yes.
Okay. So anyway, this thing is awesome. I love it. And yes, watch what we did on the props. It is going to be super fun. And they're not like crazy expensive props. So if you order them, you want to order a couple, you can actually get one that's going to be a little bit less aggressive pitch. And you can actually take that thing and do more dramatic 3D type flying if you want, because you're going to keep more airflow over the surfaces in your near stall tendencies. Also, you're going to get punched into the air a little quicker. I felt like this thing had more pull and more punch in critical moments, but it definitely did deteriorate the top speed just a hair. And to be honest with you, on the Carbons, like, I don't really care on the Carbon Z platform. It's a huge plane. It's got huge presence. It definitely didn't feel slow.
No.
But it maybe was just a hair slower than the stock prop. And you're going to tend to have that with a 3 or 4-bladed prop compared to just your standard 2-blade, because you're just going to have more efficiency with the 2-bladed prop because there's less drag. Okay. So also, I think that the dragginess with the braking, that prop looks better because the stock prop gets stopped by the braking of the ESC better because of the intensity of the braking than it does with the 3-bladed. It keeps moving, which I don't like that it stops, but I tolerate it because it's part of the braking function of the Avian ESCs. So if you guys were ever wondering, I actually don't like that feature. I do like braking, and I use braking all the time in sailplanes, the different planes that we want to glide and glide and glide and glide. But the function of a general aviation or a warbird aircraft is I want that prop there to help slow me down in addition to the flaps, so I can bring in those really steep approaches. And that's why you'll hear me say I kicked up 10% or 15% throttle just to get the prop moving, because then it becomes a plane that creates drag as opposed to a prop that creates drag in a very finite point. That also creates some torque too. So anyway, very cool. Love this thing. You will too. Check it out in the links of the video description below. If you buy it from the links, you help support Brian Phillips RC, you help support Camera Crew. If you think she does a good job, buy something from the links. If you think I did a good job, buy something from the links. If you think we did a terrible job and you want me to stop talking right now, buy from the links, and I promise I will stop talking for a minute. And then we're going to start the unbox portion of this where we actually do the build and assembly, which is pretty basic stuff, but you might find it helpful because we're going to use the telemetry to make some decisions. And that's something that comes built in with that plane as a bind and fly. You don't have to go buy an expensive receiver and plop it in there, although you probably can at some point. Right now at the moment, bind and fly is always the best value, and you got to do that. If you guys even buy them as a bind and fly and then you peel that receiver out and use it in something else, it's always cheaper that way. So that's what I usually recommend. That's what I always did back when I first got into this. We were blowing tons and tons and tons of cash on it. So I would suggest you do that. Also, people have been asking, how's the NX10 been working? It's been working great. Had a couple of glitches getting all the models pulled over, but beyond that, it's been a really good experience. Updating the firmware was a pain because our Starlink breaks and makes contact all the time. That's the nature of our Wi-Fi. Once we got it on the SD card, we had no problems. Did take a long time to install with so many models. So the more models, the more boggy it gets when you load into the models menu. And we have something like 150 in here. So if you have like 7, you're never gonna notice that. Also, if you ever get into a situation, I've noticed this on all the NXs, where it bogs on you because you've like tried binding, something didn't go right, and you tried it again, and so on and so forth. Just reset power on your plane, reset power on your transmitter, it'll go back laser fast again. But if it starts getting weird on you, just shut everything off, start it again. You'll thank me later, because it can do some weird stuff if you're doing binding. We were doing some things this weekend with some off-brand receivers, and we ran into some different difficulties getting it to bind with the SMX on some products. But we'll leave that for that video. I don't want to give everything away. But guys, here on this channel, we love supporting people coming back to the hobby, people getting into the hobby for the first time, and then of course the people that are already RC addicts like us, especially in the fixed wing airspace, pun intended, because we love flying these things and we know you do too. So come back for more. Stay tuned. We're going to show you how we did this next. All right, folks, so we just got done flying. It was a great experience on this prop. We'll show you how we did it next. But what I wanted to do is show you and admit I hit one of these things, the snow sticks. I had a snow stick. It's actually a little bit taller. It sits about this high because I need to be able to see it with my truck. And mostly I put it for the UPS guy because they like to drive off in our basically unestablished yard when it's soft and they make big divots. And it's very frustrating because they don't seem to care. So anyway, I'm sure you guys, some of you have had that problem before. So I have to go replace that. But also feast your eyes on this screw up. Oops, that is so annoying. And by the way, there are a million ways to fix this. And we're gonna show you 2 tonight. And hopefully the first of 2 works perfectly. And basically the first of 2 is probably the more dangerous of the 2, but it does tend to work pretty good. And I'm gonna show you 2 different ways to accomplish it. You can use a bowl or you can use a cup. I'm gonna use hot water, get it warm. Okay, stop the flow, run it into your cup. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set this into the microwave, okay? Now, as you guys know, if you microwave water like this, it can flash boil. It can be dangerous, okay? So what you wanna do is just like set it in there like the Catwoman in Batman. She blew up a building.
Oh.
Using spray paint or something like that. This is from the 80s, you know. Why would you have seen Michael Keaton in a super popular movie like that?
Because I was a kid.
You were a girl. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get this thing, which is, I've been told it's a wash rag. It's used for cleaning counters.
Yeah, some people
and then this a sponge. And one of them is gonna translate the heat into this. And we're gonna see if that works. If it doesn't work, then what we're gonna do is we are going to use a different technique that involves some stinky stuff.
That's not supposed to be stinky.
That's not supposed to be stinky, but we are going to pause and let the course of time take its place. It's boiling. So if it's already started boiling, it's actually better, but just be super careful because give it a couple taps and it can flash boil, so stay back. So this is where you want to look super nerdy with your...
Get some new oven mitts if you're going to have
these
them on
oven mitts,
video.
listen, these oven mitts are perfectly fine. I will use these till the day I die.
I know you would. That's the problem.
What's wrong with using crappy oven mitts till the day you die? Now watch this. It could flash evaporate or bubble or something, so just let it do its thing. Okay, so it's not going to do that. Good. And I'm going to just put the bowl down here. I'm just going to go like this. And you're like, seriously, that's what you're going to show us, Brian? Yeah, I know. It's pretty exciting stuff, isn't it? Because really, at the end of the day, whatever gets the thing fixed, that's what we're after, okay? Now, the water's running down and toward the retract, but I wouldn't worry too much about it. It's just going to basically try to open this foam up. It's just going to try to pop it open again, okay? And that is, make no mistake, extremely hot. Extremely hot. And so what I want to do is I want to get that heat transferred into the plane, okay? But I want to try to minimize the amount of pain and suffering for cleanup later, which usually just means, you know, you got some water on your counter. It's not that big of a deal, but that was a little bit worse that time. Now you can also, if it's not a big break, like this is not a big break, This is not gonna be a structural issue because there's just really no structure there. The structure is in the spars. This is just foam. There's, you know, a little bit of lift and all that. So if it comes out, this would probably be good. And you could also get that a lot hotter. If you wanted, you can also flip the plane upside down, put it on a plane stand, and it'll make it a little easier to get that controlled. But for now, as you can see, we also have a little ding here. This must have come up and then whacked it here. So I'm gonna just see if we can take that out by just putting the warm rag over it. And my guess is you're gonna find that this is not gonna be enough heat because this foam is a little bit more dense than some other EPOs. And so you may find that that little bump lives. Now, this one's not bad enough to really bother me too bad. And if you can squeeze it like that, it's not as hot as it needs to be to really get those out. But we also haven't disturbed and caused lots of other damage. What will happen is if you do this, a lot of times you'll actually lighten the color of the paint quite a bit, okay? So I'm just gonna dry off the surface. This one's not too bad. I'll probably just, because it's black on black, I'm probably just gonna take, camera crew, trade sites. I'm gonna just take and dry the bottom of the surface up here, roll it toward me so it doesn't fall off. I'm gonna take a big old marker and I'm just gonna touch those couple of spots so that you can't see it. And truthfully, you're never gonna know any better. If you're worried, you can go in more detail. But I'm gonna show you the stinky stuff. Now, this is not supposed to be stinky stuff. It wouldn't be stinky, except mine is like 12 years old and I put water in it sometime, which yes, is allowed.
Older than that though.
Oh, smells like you just, smells like you boiled broccoli in there.
We already had lots of fun today. It's already been stinky.
Yeah, it's pretty gross. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this nicely cleaned tool, because somebody didn't clean it the last time, and we're just gonna smear a little bit of the, smells like broccoli. It's actually better than last time. So ours is gonna come with like some free bacterial growth too. But we're just gonna work that into the crack, the white stuff, into the crack. And we're just gonna kinda just let it sit there. And you're like, that looks terrible, Brian. Don't worry, it'll be better before it's all done, okay? So now you could let that dry if you wanted to, but I'm like way too lazy to sand that much. So I'm gonna let that sit for a sec. Now I'm gonna grab this other tool, which is basically a wider tool. I would use it in there, but it just happens to be about the same size as the package. Okay, now make sure that's clean. And then I'm just gonna walk around it. And look how perfect that edge is, okay? Now I'm gonna unperfect it. Yep, see, told you I would. I'm just gonna basically roll around like that and see if I can get it to go. Now, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. So I usually end up working this 4 or 5 times. And then by the time you're all said and done, you just scrape off some of the excess. And a lot of times you're gonna have to do a second final coat if you really wanna get it perfect, okay? So now I can set that aside just to really give the aroma into the room of rotting things. And then you'll notice that this is yellow and white. So it's like, oh, I'm never gonna be able to tolerate that dent. You will, I promise you. You're not gonna die, but if you are gonna die, all you have to do is basically, you know, make it perfect. But you can let it dry, and then you can sand it, and then you can paint it. One trick of the day, and I never do this, full disclosure, the match on the color of this plane in particular is not good. It is one of the worst that we've seen from Horizon. There's a mismatch on the vertical stab to the fuse. There's a mismatch on this to the fuse. I didn't at first really notice it, but I'm noticing it more the longer I have it. I could also care less because I love this plane and I will forgive them for a mismatch all day long. Because we've had other planes that are of similar echelon and they have a little bit better match, but the yellow's not as good.
Yeah.
And it's sitting over there. I like that plane a lot. By the way, I have a similar repair that you guys probably haven't seen yet, but if you have, forgive me for being wrong on that. We do have it in the can and it's ready to go, so it'll be released at some point. Now that this has had a chance to dry for just a minute or two, you can usually come in here and hit it again. Until, of course, it's totally done and you can just take off whatever extras you've got. It's really, really easy and you're like, but Brian, that's gonna break off the first time I have a rough landing. You know, surprisingly, it doesn't. I thought that too. It just doesn't. So I thought it would pop off, and then you're gonna show them what I'm doing here. I'm just gonna do this, just wipe off the excess. Go into the seams, and make sure you use your wife's kitchen rags for best benefit of, for best results and maximum consequences. I mean, results. So just do that, and then come under here, clean up all that white stuff. If you leave white stuff on the sides, then you may get in trouble. And they might not let you use it again. So there you are. So, and if you think that that's totally ugly, it is so much less ugly than doing nothing. Now show them from the side. Obviously it's not perfect. And honestly, I don't really even care if it's perfect. I just want to get that consistency. In the past, another technique that I used that worked, reasonably well, it was probably a way uglier repair, is I would take and tape the leading edge of the wing, and I would make sure to jump over whatever little dent. And it's usually from like belly landers, like the Crescendo, Evo, small dents and dings in the wing. I'll go over it just to keep that airfoil, because it's a pretty fast plane. But in this case, that will fill the void, so you get the airfoil effect. And then you've added virtually no weight. I mean, like a gram. I mean, you're never ever gonna know any better. You could even cut off part of the wing and, reshape the wing by doing it, so long as you don't get into the structural stuff. So generally, and the other thing you can do is you can also use foam, and you can glue it in there, and then you can use a hot knife and cut it, okay? Which works really fancy, and it is a really good way of doing it. It's probably a little bit more of like a perfect finish, because it's the same material. And I've seen a lot of guys cut out squares, and I'm like, why would you cut out any more? Just put it on top of it. It's all foam. This foam, the way they make it is they just take a bunch of balls, they dump it in under pressure, they squish it, and that's it. So it's exactly the same if you were to put another piece of foam in there. It's not gonna hurt anything. Okay, so that being said, now you know how to fix that. And next up, we're gonna show you how to test and see if you're gonna totally destroy your ESC with this prop, provided you're using telemetry on your telemetry capable receiver. In our case, we're using the NX10. You could use the NX6, NX8, and I believe the DX line also carries that data across. So, or IXs, of course, IX14, IX20, IX12. So all of those are gonna give you the telemetry feedback. So if you have questions, leave them in the comments below. We'll do our best to get to them, but we have been a little bit admittedly behind on getting to comments and questions. If you guys are a Patreon, it does give you a little bit easier access to it, but we specifically don't call that a benefit, because then you guys have to pay extra VATs if you're overseas. And if you're here stateside, at some point, somebody's gonna try to tax it for no reason or good reason. So there you have it, guys. Stay tuned. We'll show you this next. Thanks for watching. YouTube, Brian Phillips. We're gonna do something today. We're gonna put these super soft tires. Camera crew, could you just squish those for me? Yeah, not so much. I'm not sure what happened, but let's show them the stock tire. So this is the Carbon Z T-28. I'm probably gonna say Carbon Cup a million times. I don't know why, it's a personal problem, but I keep saying it wrong. This is gonna be linked in the video description below, but as you can see, squish for the camera. Now, squish for the camera. There's like a very, very minuscule difference. I mean, it's gotta be like next to nothing. So, I think what we're gonna do is we're just gonna try them and see if it makes a difference. I don't think it will. And the reason we're doing this is because I honestly cannot say that there's like really a difference. Like, they feel almost exactly the same. So we're gonna try this and we're gonna see if it's an improvement. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is because basically I said, oh wow, soft tires, thank you E-flite. And then I got them and I'm like, what the heck? Did you guys have a mispackaged set or something like that? And basically the answer I got was, maybe the specs they gave us weren't quite on from the factory. And so I'm gonna just show you what it does. And if it does great, wonderful. If not, then maybe not so great. But we're also gonna go over different master air screw sized 3-bladed props, which was huge in my mind. I wanted a 3-bladed prop on this beauty. And it came with a 14.75 by 10. Okay, so we'll show the stock amps, and then we're gonna show the current draw with a 14.7, 14.9, 16.7, and 16.8. So those 4 sizes We'll show you how to balance if we need to balance them. I hope we don't need to, because usually they come out of the package good if they're a one-piece prop, but sometimes they don't. So we're gonna find out right now. But anyway, without further ado, I wanna pop these C-clamps off, or these C-clips off. They are sometimes a little bit challenging to get off of here. You just have to push them off, and camera crew is gonna do our best to get you guys a shot. I mean, it's not a very exciting process, but we're gonna do it anyway. So that comes off like that. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, why not low bounce Dubro tires? Here's why. Look how tall that is. The low bounce Dubro tires are quite a little bit smaller than this. Now, also this kit comes with new C-clips if you lose them, okay? Oh, nice. That's huge, huge, because there's a good chance you will. But I'm just gonna show you this, guys. I don't see an appreciable difference at all. I mean, I honestly, you know, there's maybe a little bit more deflection. Let's show them over here. What I'm gonna try to do is, I kind of wanna come up with a better test for this, but I'm pressing on this and you can see it squishes and it gives a flat spot. And when I push on this, it's slightly softer, okay? There is a little bit more softness, but it's just very small. Now, to their defense, it's possible that the weight of this aircraft does call for a little bit more stout tire wheel, but I'm crying BS myself. Hey, where did that clip go? Goodness gracious, it's right here. So by the way, guys, if you're putting in a counter in your new house, think about the woes of Brian Phillips RC when you're picking your granite color or whatever it is that you put for countertop. We have nearly lost millions of screws. Okay, so I'm just gonna slide that on and hopefully be able to salvage it. I'd like to not use the ones that came with it, because then I've got a backup, because you know how I like to have backups, camera crew, right?
That's very important.
It is. I mean, I'll probably use them this week.
I'm sure you
will
not.
100% for sure. See, we finish each other's sentences too. By the way, if you guys weren't aware, the camera crew is my wife. We've been married for many, many, many years. We have 4 kids, and she does most of the work around. And
I do have a name.
Her name is Megan. And no, I don't call her camera crew. So I'm going to just make a small mark.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I'm just gonna write on here, I'm just gonna write regular nose, okay? Now, I understand that's gonna be pretty hard to find, but I just wanna be able to quickly identify, because really at the end of the day, oh, I could write it on this bag. Regular T-28 Carbon Z. Carbon dash Z. There was somebody that pointed out there wasn't a dash, and that really hurt their feelings badly. So I'll put the dash. Look, there's a dash. Now you can sleep at night again. It's amazing the comments you get on YouTube.
Complain that you crossed your Z.
Yes, that's right. Oh, yeah, that's right. You put tails and you crossed it. What kind of a fruitcake are you? Exactly.
Is this the same process for all the tires?
Hey, Brian, I'm still waiting for the unbox to get done. Sorry, dude. Hey, so watch what I'm gonna do. I'll show the people at home. I'm just trying to reach across, do a little reach around with the tip of this. And it's gonna be awkward because this cover is sort of in the way. And to be honest with you, it's the exact same process, so we might actually, why don't we just pause and we'll come right back. Okay, so we realized we do have to take this cover off to just avoid the potential damage. So I'm gonna take it off on camera, because otherwise somebody is gonna accuse me of not putting a dash in there. See, I just took it off with a China screwdriver. And what we're gonna do is we'll just have easier access now. Oh, also another tip, if you fly from grass, you may think about taking that gear cover off, because that particular door is gonna take a beating from grass ops. And I noticed that the other day. I was flying for a guy who came up from another state, and we'll just call him MB. And we did some flying of some aircraft, and it may or may not have. Right there! Yes! That was easier to find on the ground after having been shot across the room than it was on our very own countertop.
Yes.
So.
Do you need some fingernails?
I got it.
Okay.
I got it. I'm gonna lay it on top of this orange cover or yellow cover. Okay, so just again to show you, this is the regular. So I'm gonna take a marker and write regular, and this would be one of the mains. So I'm just gonna say regular main in black on black. Okay.
Perfect.
So real simple, but then at least we'll know for sure I won't accidentally grab the wrong one because it is very, very minimally different, okay? I'm super disappointed by that, but at the same time, it is nice to know that they're in stock, or at least they were in stock. And I'm sure like there was a huge run on the soft tires. Sure. And then everybody's like, oh geez, Brian, what the heck? You should have done your video quicker. So here's the thing, if they're in stock, I think there's only a couple bucks more price involved. So really at the end of the day, it's probably not a huge issue. You're not gonna have a huge problem with soft tires on this plane because you can just grease landings with this thing. I mean, it is so good. Okay, now that is exactly the same. So we'll just go ahead and pause for the third one and then we'll jump right into the prop stuff. So stay tuned. All right, so we have the soft tire set on. And to be honest with you, weirdly enough, call me nuts, but that doesn't look square. Is that the way it's supposed to be? Does it not look like?
It looks like it's like canted.
Yeah, what the heck? Why is it canted? I flew it the other day, I didn't notice it at all. Maybe it's just because the steering wheel is not turned straight. I bet that's what it is. Well, anyway, we're gonna leave it the same because I didn't change it to the best of my knowledge. And of course, off camera, the third one shot, bing, bonk, and we never heard it land. So we're like, okay, I guess we gotta open the bag. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna do an amp test, a current test on how much current we have statically, meaning sitting still, compared to dynamic. We're not gonna do dynamic testing, but you can do dynamic testing super easy with telemetry. And so I'm gonna go ahead and get this battery loaded. This one's the one that was involved in a small incident with an SU-27. That's all I'm gonna say, with a linkage that broke. And that'll be our test pack, but it is a 50C pack, so it should be fine. We're gonna be basically loading it real heavy for a few seconds, and then, you know, if the thing poofs in smoke, that would suck, but we have fire extinguishers in a few different places around here. We are gonna test this inside, and we are gonna test it with the prop on, strangely enough. So what we're gonna do is, first things first, we'll take the NX10 off the charger because I noticed it was low. So I did that quick little magnetic charge, which is awesome. And that is included with it now, which is nice. Okay, so I'm gonna turn on the transmitter. I'm gonna pull up the plane, which it's already pulled up. I'm gonna have my throttle cut on. I'm gonna make sure my gear switch is in the down position. And camera crew and I are gonna be super careful. There does feel, like they do feel softer, like in rolling. But I mean, I can't, it's just subtle, it's very subtle. So we're gonna see if they grab really bad or if they work well. Honestly, I'm more impressed than I thought it was gonna be because they seemed like they would deflect about the same amount. Okay, so we have a list here, as you can see right there. And yours truly already put away the marker that he got out earlier. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna basically write down the current that we get, stock, and then we'll do a basis for comparison on each of the 4 choices. And the one that falls closest to the range that is appropriate looking will actually win out over the stock prop for now. And we'll have the stock prop in case we decide to go back to it. So throttle cut's on, battery's getting plugged in now. You'll notice my arm is here and you're like, but Brian, what if it starts? That would suck. So I'm gonna try to get my body in a spot where I can be out of the way. And I do trust this plane because I've used it quite a bit now. Okay, let it initiate, get yourself in a position where you can stop it should something weird happen. Okay, camera crew is gonna come around. All right, so now that we have done that, throttle cut is off, we're gonna go ahead and protect ourselves and test. That's definitely working, throttle cut's on, and now I can trust this. So we're not gonna take this off yet. That's braking, that's normal. So what I need to do is I need to show you where to look in the menu. So you're gonna scroll over. Which one's the best screen for this? I think we already went past it. Probably this one. So it's gonna show volts, motor, and then amps, okay? So what I wanna do is I wanna get myself in a situation where I could be safe, control the plane just so it can't be taken away. I'm gonna basically do the same thing for each test. I'm gonna have my hand here. I'm gonna hang over the edge just in case. And then I'm gonna unthrottle cut, and here goes nothing. So we're gonna go ahead and go up slowly. Okay, so I'm not seeing, okay, throttle cut's on. I wanna see if there's some telemetry data that's not coming across for some reason. If I go into telemetry, and let's see if there's something else we can do. Oh, there's Smart ESC, is that where I was? RPMs, volts, temperature, amps. There we go. Okay, cool. So now we'll just scroll over. That didn't auto telemetry in. There's amps. Now why is that blank? That should not be blank with a smart battery. I don't believe. And a Smart ESC. That's weird. Let's see what happens when I go all in for a minute. Okay, so I'm just gonna put this like that. Okay, throttle cut's on. All right, so I'm not seeing any data there. I'm not seeing any data there. I'm not seeing any data there. I just see the FET temp changing, and I see there's our motor amps. Okay, so we have a max amps of 47.3. Okay, throttle cuts off. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go full throttle, and I'm gonna give it a count to like 4 or 5, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then down to nothing. And did it even change? Yes, it did. It went to 71.4 amps. Okay, so this screen will tell you, I'm just a little disappointed that that current screen doesn't show up. That's probably a current screen dependent on an amps input on one of these. There's volts and then a couple of other things there. So it might be looking at that port. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna scroll down to telemetry and actually just go ahead and change that back to empty, because it's gonna be confusing if it's there and it doesn't do any good for us, okay? So now we can write down what we had. So I'm just gonna scroll back over. So now it's saying it's not charged for flying. And the first time you go into that screen, see, it clears it evidently.
It was 71.4.
71.4, thank you, camera crew. So 71.4, okay, same battery. Now, because the battery is gonna discharge some, throttle cut is on. We're gonna check that numerous times today. We're gonna go ahead and pull this prop off. And you're like, I can't believe you would do that with the plane on. Yeah, I know. It is kind of a big prop. But also, on this thing, it's probably a good idea. It is so big. If something goes wrong, it's gonna be a pretty bad one. Okay, so I broke that free. Unfortunately, there's no through hole to use. So I have to take that off. And honestly, I might keep that off until we're done with testing, because it's not gonna change the loading.
Oh, okay.
So I'll just leave this here so it can get blown across the room, over here in fact.
Okay.
And first things first, you just need a crescent wrench or something like that. And we're just gonna take and break this free. Remember, these props are quite sharp, so just do your best to figure out what direction you can hold them so you're holding the not sharp edge. The leading edge usually not quite as sharp, as opposed to the trailing edge, which is quite sharp. And we're just gonna undo this nut. Look at that monster motor. That thing is huge. Gotta love it. And then I love that they actually used a jam nut on this, as opposed to a thicker nut. Okay, so we'll just leave this right here. That's our stock prop. And we know we're looking for about 71 amps or so. Now, these things come and they've got a nice Ziploc bag opening on the bottom. So 14.7. And probably what we'll do is we'll just show you the first go around and then we'll show you if anything changes. So that is considerably smaller in terms of its overall dimension. It's actually really close. But the 3-bladed prop, I almost feel like that looks a little bit small to me. So we can definitely try it. We'll see what the current looks like, and let's see if it slides on right away. I doubt it will. Okay, so we're gonna have to get a drill to open up the middle. So we'll pause and get that. Okay, so the camera crew had a great idea, and she said maybe the hole is bigger on the bigger props, so you could just check.
If you think that one looks too small to start with.
Yeah, it's definitely too small. Same dilemma. It's not too small on the one side, but it is too small on the other. And look, it's got these nice stickers that come with it and some safety instructions. Cool. that tell you how to not chop your hands off. Please seriously be careful, guys. There's a couple different ways people get hurt in this hobby. One is props, for sure. So seriously, take it serious if you want the best crack at not having your hand injured. And by the way, you do kind of need your hands to play with these toys and love them the way we do. So respect it, even though it's sometimes a little bit, ooh, I like the way that looks a lot better. Like that seems like a better size match, first of all, and it looks more impressive. Of course, it's gonna draw a lot more current because it's bigger, and just look how thick that is. Yeah, that's beautiful. So I like that actually quite a bit better. This looks almost more like a milled
You dull. Like the shiny, like glossy versus
yeah, it
the
looks
matte?
Cool. I like them both, but this one's bigger. Unfortunately, the shaft size is not gonna be right, so I have to drill. We'll be right. All right, guys, so one thing I just noticed, I've got a bunch of different drill bit sets. But generally the largest like standard drill bit that I carry, because I don't do a lot of machine work here, is about a 3/8 of an inch. I have some bigger ones that I've had from different projects and things that I've worked on, and then step bits, but step bits don't work great for this. And I just want to show you something. This is the 3/8 bit. This is the stock prop. As you can see, it's not quite big enough. And you could of course just take this up against the shaft size here too. And so that might make things a little bit tough on me. That is pretty dang close actually, but it's not quite totally there. So the problem you run the risk of wobbling the prop if you walk the bit. So these are big props, you don't want them to walk, okay? But I'm gonna show you what I would normally do to open up a bit or to open up the hole on one of these props. So I'm gonna just try the 16/7, and what we're gonna do is we're just gonna hold this very carefully so we have the sharp edge like that. And we're gonna see if we can get that going. And it's drilling really nice, so. And this would be a good time to have some safety glasses and a clamp and put it on a bench and do all that stuff. So we're just gonna drill through and then come right back. Yeah, so those safety glasses are working great, hon. Thanks for getting those for me. Okay, so we're just gonna do this real quick. Bob Vila, if you're watching, I'm sorry.
If Bob Vila's watching, that'd be pretty cool.
Okay, so I'm just gonna put these safety glasses right here, click, and then, that looks so school. Okay, so now obviously that size is probably not big enough, but we're gonna see if it is. If it is, great. If it's not, I'm not gonna be surprised. Yeah, so it's not quite there, but you know what? We're really, really dang close. So I almost wonder if I can get this to start. And if it starts, then we can probably get the thing to go on there. Yeah, but then we're gonna get over to the thicker shaft and it's gonna be really hard to keep it on there. So probably in this case, we'll have to walk that open a little bit more because otherwise it's gonna thread itself on there, okay? So a couple different ways you can do that if you don't have the right size bit. The best way is to get the next size up. Now, I don't know exactly what that size would be, but I can take the calipers and I'll show you what I measure, and then you guys can make your best judgment, okay? So right here, of course, we'll throw some calipers here. Turn those on, zero the thing. And then we're gonna grab the deeper part of the shaft that's solid. You can see we're about a 10 millimeters, just over 10 millimeters there. Okay, so 10.07, okay. You can even roll it in there tight and then lock this thing, okay? And I can slide it off. Push it in. Yeah, so 10 millimeters, guys. That's a weird size, okay? I don't have a 10 millimeter drill bit, but you might. Also, if you have a 10 millimeter drill bit, that would be by far the easiest way to open up this hole, but we're gonna get by, and I'm just gonna show you the difference between what we're using and 10 millimeters. So just opening this up, going to the shaft that doesn't have the cuts, you're at 9.44 millimeters, so you're very, very close. And then this next bigger one I have is way too big, you're at a 12, so almost 13. And then my step bits, I don't even think we're gonna be able to get a real great size match. There's 10.85 and there's 9.3. So we're just right in the middle. So really the best thing to do would be to have a drill that's gonna get you into the hole and do it right. So we're gonna pause. I'll see if I can check another set. So this one was my next best option, and this shaft size is 12.65, so similar to what we had here. And then I found this easy out that had a broken end, and it actually might get me to 11 or to 10, but I would just have to stop short. So it might be the next best option, which sounds pretty janky, but to be honest, it might be enough to get the job done. We're gonna test it right now here on Brian Phillips RC, where we throw all caution to the wind. Is this the one we drilled? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna just hold it here. Got those safety glasses on again, obviously. Okay, so I'm just going that direction, then I'm gonna go this direction. Boy, that easy out actually worked amazing. I had no idea how good that was gonna work, but as you can see, we opened that up quite a bit and it's nice and centered. So let's see. Oh yeah, we are totally on. Not really, because now we gotta get all the way back. So I'm telling you,
more though,
I could ram that in there if I wanted to, but I'm not gonna ram it in there right now. We'll do this first. Okay, now you'll notice I'm going reverse because I want to push the product out. I don't want to draw it in, because if I do that, it's going to just want to spin the dang prop, okay? Oh. And it's really easy to control then. And you have this nice clean hole now, which is pretty sweet. I did not expect that. Oh yeah, that is perfectamundo. Okay, so now let's see. That actually worked way better. And by the way, that was not planned out, guys.
No,
so
not at all.
We would have never planned that far ahead anyway. No. I didn't even realize I was gonna need a 10mm drill bit. Who needs a 7/16? Is that what it was?
Yeah, that's like the similar equivalent. No, it's supposed to be 3/8, but your 3/8 was not the same.
No.
So 7/16 was like 11mm.
Yeah, that's weird, but it's a 10mm shaft size. Okay, so for whatever reason, that's just what happened. Now, I'm just guessing, given the fact that we're gonna lose sunlight, that this is probably gonna be the right run that's gonna get us close. And it's probably gonna be a little bit higher amp, a little bit higher loading.
Well, now we know the process though. If we
Yeah, and so really what we're doing is we're not even checking the balance yet, because I have my prop balancer here, but at the end of the day, we don't even know if we need to do that yet. If it doesn't need balanced, we just won't mess with it. And then of course we have the spinner, but we're gonna leave that off. We're just gonna move all the kind of loose things away so we don't have, that is a tremendous amount of thrust that's being produced, okay? So now we're gonna go ahead and verify throttle cuts on, throttle sticks down, and elbows out of the way. Let everything start up. It definitely looks sweet with the 3-bladed prop. Okay, now we're going down to 16.7, okay?
Yep.
And remember, 10mm hole. Just over, it's like 10.07mm. That's what I kept getting consistently, okay? Throttle cut is currently off. That does not need balanced either.
Oh, it sounds great.
It's better than the stock one.
Yeah.
%50 throttle there, folks.
Okay.
That's all the way up.
Wow.
66.8, baby. Sweet. So 66.8 amps.
Cool.
Which means we're totally clean with that, okay? Now, that was an easy test, guys. What do you think the conclusion is gonna be on the 16.8 camera crew?
Slightly more?
I think this is gonna be the perfect size for this plane, to be honest. I kind of don't even wanna try it.
Okay.
But, what we're gonna do is we're gonna get this one ready. We're gonna ram some holes in it. And by the way, I didn't have to use any of the hole keepers because
right, which is kind
honestly,
nice.
Okay, so I'm just gonna have to show you guys now that we found out this works phenomenally. I did pilot hole it with the other one, but I wanna try it with just this. This is a broken one, no less. But this happens to be...
What is that?
This is an easy out. 0, what size? Gosh, I cannot read that. Wear safety glasses just like we did. Number 5, U.S. drill 1764.
Yep.
It's kind of a weird size, but that's probably calling out a drill size, by the way. But the outside dimension of the widest part of the thread is going to be 11.65. So really, you come way back here before you get down to the suggested size, okay? So that's really unusual how well that worked. And you see, it's not even a clean tip. If it was a clean tip, it'd be even easier. So now I'm going to use reverse, not forward. If you go reverse, it's going to cut. Oops. Excuse me. I actually want to use forward because it's reverse. Since this is an easy out.
Oh, it's reverse.
I wanted it to not cut. It's reverse threaded. So my apologies, guys. And yes, I evidently have this into I took it off my drill setting because I was hammering something the other day. Whoa, buddy. That's all I do at work. Nice wiggle like that. It's generally not a good sign for balancing your prop. See how it's not wiggling? That's a good sign. That is so weird.
What?
It was a residue coming out. It was making it hot.
Oh.
Okay, so we're just hold this. You see how I'm holding in 3 spots? Mm-hmm. Yeah, the stuff coming out is hot. Okay, so now that we've done that, we're gonna see if we have the right shaft size. And the way we're gonna do that is we're basically gonna pop this off. We are unplugged, de-energized. We don't have to worry about the throttle cut in this case. And then these props, camera crew, are marked somewhere, correct?
Oh, here, I'll look while you're putting.
It's right there. Right there.
Yes, it is. Yep, I see it.
Yep, that says 1570. What?
That is
not
what
right.
The bag says.
That is definitely not right. It's supposed to be a 6.8.
15.
This says 1680. Oh, that says 16.
No, it says 1570.
What? 1570? That's not a 16. That's a 15. Oh, goodness gracious, guys. Embarrassing. Time to fix our notes. So, by the way, my apologies, folks. That was a 15.7. I am really glad I checked that. So 15.7 also matches really close to the size of everything else. Okay, now that we have screwed things up like usual, 16.80. Okay. So this is 16.8. We're gonna slide this on. We're gonna get a beautiful sunset, it looks like, so I need to hurry up and get this done, guys. This is gonna be way over on current, almost certainly.
Well, being that much bigger, I was thinking it was only slightly.
So generally there's 2 ways to draw more current with a prop. Get bigger in one dimension and then draw even more by getting bigger in the other dimension. So you have more pitch, more size and more pitch, okay? So more pitch is more aggressive, less pitch is less aggressive, but you get less purchase as you slide through the air, okay? So the idea is if you wanna have a little bit more poppy power at the low end, you want less pitch, and if you want more high speed, then you want more pitch in general, okay? We're still hitting on this one. So I'm gonna go a little bit deeper.
Is that one, it's not thicker, is it?
No, it is thicker. There we go. Got a little bit more out of the middle, and a little bit more out the middle. Okay, now let's see how we look. So of course the best thing to do would be get a 10mm drill bit. But I know the way you guys are gonna do things is probably a lot like the way I'm gonna do them, which is whatever you got lying around, because you got millions of dollars worth of tools and you wanna use what you already got.
And it's getting dark and you're not gonna wait to get a drill bit.
Pretty much. Pretty much. I just don't understand why the Easy Out doesn't drill better. I'm actually kidding, because this thing has worked really nice. I wish my drill bits worked as good as this Easy Out works. I'm gonna start using Easy Outs on purpose. There we go. There we go. Come on now. Don't make my life difficult. I'm gonna do the thing I shouldn't do. You know what I'm gonna do, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna just ram it in. You know why?
Because it's getting dark.
It's getting dark and I want to see this thing fly because I love flying this plane and it is so much fun. And if you guys haven't already considered getting one, you really need to. Oh boy, that's really pushing it on. It's gonna be hard to get that thing off. But you know why I don't care?
Because you're hoping it's gonna be right.
I'm kind of assuming. I'm trying to be the eternal optimist that I'm not.
Yeah.
By pretending that this is gonna be the right size. And I'm pretty sure it's not gonna be the right size. Also, I just wanna point out the fact that if you don't tighten this all the way down and it wobbles like crazy, keep tightening it until it's flush with the actual motor mount, the prop adapter, I should say. This is, after all, what I'm tightening this onto is the prop adapter, okay? See how the motor's spinning? I'm just putting my middle finger, well, my index finger in there and just let it spin or stop it from spinning. And just keep torquing this down. It is really challenging sometimes to get those last couple of turns. You might actually have to use a proper tool to prevent the motor from spinning. And this cowl is made of plastic, so you can get your fingers in there and not have to worry about it getting dinged. Like what I just did there, I had a lot of torque on my index finger, finger knuckle. Okay, so you see this gap here? That's not gonna be acceptable. So you can work it back and forth, and that'll slide it back a little bit for you, but it's not gonna go all the way until you get this thing torqued all the way down. And you see it's just wanting to spin that motor. So I'm gonna have to take another tool and get in there pretty much right away. This test, and then we're gonna get batteries in and fly it, okay?
Okay.
So I'm gonna use this because it's got those nice soft ends, and I can wrap around it just like this, holding the end, and then I can do this. Oh yeah, that's golden retriever. Now I've got my, okay, we're just gonna torque this down all the way. Okay, all right, so now we look at power. Power is gonna be critical here because I have a stinky suspicion that we're gonna be way over, like a lot over.
Okay.
Okay, throttle cuts on, throttle sticks down. Plug is in, checking for clearance. We have clearance. It's gonna be a lot of thrust. It's gonna be a lot of current too. So our last one was 66.8. Now we're doing the 16.8. Don't you worry, you. Throttle cuts off. Okay, here goes nothing. We're just gonna walk it up slowly. It's not even gonna refresh this value unless you come off the screen and come back. Okay? So far we haven't exceeded it. There's 50% throttle, it sounds amazing. No balance issues. Good Lord. Look at the heat. Oh yeah, there's our power. Okay. So throttle cuts on. You also notice that the FET temperature went up to 140.1. We're gonna back off. This thing's probably a little bit too big, unless of course you decided to actually cut your throttle back to where we were, okay? So you can go in, if you wanted to use this prop and you're like, that thing looks more appropriate for this plane, what you would do is you just walk out, you would go to throttle curve, or you would just go to servo setup and you would just change your throttle range. But just make sure your throttle cuts on if you change it, and you would just move the stick to where you want and you would just drop that number down. Okay, I'm not gonna change it. I think we're gonna go to the 15.7 because I think that's really, that's the money shot right there.
Okay.
So we're gonna go to 15.7. That's gonna give us a golden retriever style response. Let's just show the people how bad it is to get this off now that we torqued it down the way we did.
Okay.
Because I have a sneaky suspicion it's not gonna be as bad as I was thinking.
Oh, hopefully.
Yeah.
I was thinking it would be worse.
Well, you know, I've been known to overdo things, but I think this time it's gonna be okay.
Okay.
Because really what was going on is any sort of slop that we created in the hole, I mean, because, you know, it's always part of the fun, is gonna get squished back in when you tighten down this washer.
Oh.
So what I'd like to do is be able to hold this and spin it, but it's gonna be hard to do that, so we might just walk this back just a little bit at a time. It's a little bit hard on your motor mounts to do that, I realize, but I'm just walking it just a little bit at a time, giving it a little bit of twist. And as you can see, we're getting almost to the end of the shaft. Don't wanna get cut here, but I do wanna fly badly. Okay, so now it's off, and we are going to lay this aside, and we're gonna start with the 15.7. Get that stuff off of the shaft, push that thing on. That's a perfect fit, folks. Worked really good. Had no problems other than the fact that I didn't have the right size tool and I totally screwed around and did it wrong, like typical.
We had all the proper safety gear and we were very careful.
Yes, that's right. We had all the proper safety gear. Obviously, Bob Vila would be proud. The most important tool in your tool bag, which is safety glasses. I wonder how many different safety glasses manufacturers were supporting that guy.
No kidding.
It's like, get your safety glasses for my links below. By the way, if you want to help support Brian Phillips RC, check out the links below.
Yeah.
And you can buy this very prop for yourself. And that's a pretty sweet looking prop. I love the way it looks. 3-bedded prop is the way to go. And we're actually losing current by a tune of, looks like 66.8 compared to 71.4. So it's possible that we won't have as much juicy flight as we did before. And it's also possible that we have room to spare to go up to another battery. And so for that reason, we may actually investigate that later. And I'm gonna go ahead and plug this sucker in and get that thing charging. But for the sake of time, I'm gonna use the same exact battery, 50C. This one just happens to not have been involved in any sort of crashes with SU-27s. Just saying, we'll be ready to fly next, guys. Definitely check out the links in the video description below. You already know how all this ended with the crash and all. Just kidding, guys. But stay tuned. So much more from Brian Phillips RC. We have tons of content. Literally, our office is spilling out, and we hope you guys will be here to see all of it with us. Check the links in the video description below. Special thanks to our Patreons. We've been picking up a few the last few weeks, so special thanks to you guys if you're already one. If you want to become one, the link is just below this stuff. There's also PayPal if you like one-time support. Or if you're in Italy, we just had a guy that joined. He was in Italy and he said, I can't buy this stuff from your links, so I want to support you on Patreon.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks for doing that. I don't mention names unless you ask me to, but thank you. You know who you are. And yes, we do really appreciate you guys, the whole worldwide audience watching this stuff. And we hope that we're getting you off the chair and into the air, because that's where you want to be, and that's where we want you to be too, is flying with us. So stay tuned. So much more from Brian Phillips RC.